Hello, Mustang fans, and welcome to another episode of the Mustang Owners Podcast. I'm your host, John Clore, along with my co-host, Mike Ray. And whether you knew me from Auto Week Magazine, Ford SVT, Ford Racing, or now Ford Performance, or you knew Mike from his days with Team Mustang, or maybe it was Roush or Celine, or maybe even possibly the Mustang Owners Club of Southeast Michigan. Whatever. We know you because of your Mustang story. And today, it's because of you that we have this wonderful episode that you're not going to want to miss because, Mike, today we're letting the people with Mustang stories and Mustang passion write to us at clubhub@ford.com and give us their mail and their responses to stuff that's going on in the hobby. And today we got a couple of hot potatoes.
You know, these have been really, really good episodes, these mailbags. I think we both enjoy them, and it's a way to interact with our listeners or our watchers.
So, Mike, when we were at Carlisle, somebody came up to me and said, I sent a note about the podcast into clubhub@ford.com, and I never expected you guys to even read it, let alone to put it on the mailbag episode. So if you're out there and you do send us something on clubhub@ford.com and you put in the top podcast, don't be surprised if you wind up on one of our episodes because our job is to answer your questions. And Mike, that's what we're here for. And sometimes it's really hard and we need our help in the industry. And sometimes we just do it off the top of our heads. And sometimes, Mike, it's just nice to hear from people to see what their feedback is.
I love hearing the people there. So like, hey, you mentioned my car. You showed my car in the podcast. You talked about me. You mentioned my name. I love that. So it's really, really cool to hear that feedback from our watchers.
I agree. And so with all the Mustang content on YouTube right now, you'll see some guys, they go to every show and they bounce around. They're looking at every car. They don't really know the people. They don't know. I mean, to have people say, hey, I know you. My car's on your show and respond that way where you can get that feedback is really helpful. So put it in the comments if you like that stuff. So we're going to open up the mailbag and let it rip, Mike. Good luck with this. Okay. Are we ready? Here we go. Okay. I'm going to read this to you, Mike. And if you say Ixnay on the mail A, we'll just not mention the word.
So if I say next, just read the next one.
All right. This email is from a guy named Jerry Poston. And under the subject line, Mike, he said, Mustang Owners Podcast live at Carlisle was good to meet you. So obviously he's talking about you, Mike, because it wasn't good to meet me. Okay, so Mike, I'm going to ask for your response on this one because although he said, hi, John, I enjoyed the live version of the podcast at Carlisle. And I know, Mike, you and I enjoyed it.
Yeah, it was great.
He said, it was great to see this past weekend at Carlisle with you and Mike. I've been listening to the Mustang Owners Podcast since Steve Hall was starting it, and it's good to see his legacy continued. You know, Mike, what do we know? We're over 200 episodes.
Well, if not, I think we're getting really close if we're not over
Steve
yet.
did many of them. And then when he asked us to pick up for him, we took the ball and ran with it. And we haven't looked back since. So bless Steve for this great little platform. He said, I spoke to you guys very briefly after the podcast and told you my first Mustang was a 75 Mustang too. So Mike, he probably was talking to me because not that you don't care, but
yeah, when they say Mustang,
you know what you do is you point like that. Oh, John's over there. He said, I've owned several Mustangs, but currently have a 66 coupe, which you gotta love, with a 6-cylinder in ivy green metallic and a 2020 Mustang GT in Kona blue with white stripes. That's cool. Yeah. I mean, a 2020 GT Kona blue with white. Come on. He said, my wife and I.
So 3 different gens. Yeah, that's nice.
I mean, good for him. And as he said, my wife and I cruised the 66 in the summer, and she winters in our garage in Rhode Island. Those New England Mustangs take a beating, so she's earned her winter respite. People often ask why I don't put a V8 in it. Now, he's got a 6-cylinder, original 6-cylinder first-gen Mustang. And they'll say, why don't you put a V8 in it? I tell them if I want to go fast, I have my new GT with traction control, airbags, etc. I'm keeping it the way it is. It's a very different driving experience. Mike, what's wrong with that?
Nothing at all. It's everybody how they want to enjoy their cars.
So you see a early Mustang, you see a 6-cylinder, and the first thing out of your mouth is, hey, why don't you put a V8 in it?
No, let the Mustangs be. They were created that way for a reason, and let them live on.
I don't, Jerry, I hope you don't. I mean, everybody has their opinion. And if they come up to you at any show and say, you've got the wrong engine, you've got the original engine in it. And there's, those little 6-cylinder Mustangs, they're everywhere still. And there's nothing wrong with, or even bring them to a show. Mike, there's nothing to be embarrassed about.
No, not at all.
He said, my Mustang fascination started with a ride in a 65 candy apple red convertible when I was about 15 years old. Hello?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
If you were 15 and you saw a candy apple red Mustang 65 convertible and you got a ride in it, who's not going to love this car? This is
Right.
this is
Exactly.
where it started. He said it was restored by a family friend. He swung by my house and I asked if he wanted to go for a ride to a local junkyard. I said, yes, please. He took every advantage to downshift the turn heads on a 15-minute ride, and I was hooked. It took quite a while to get my own classic, but it was well worth the wait. And we tell you, folks, it is well worth the wait. If you don't have a Mustang right now, you're planning for one. Mike, I'd say get into a club or go to a car show and you'll start finding them.
Yeah, but and that whole mailbag, that email to us right now describes your whole thing about that you don't need to own a car. Everybody has a Mustang story, and that was it. His first ride in a car. That's how he got
And he
hooked
didn't
in
get
it,
one.
and now he owns them. But everybody has one of those
Yeah, and
stories, whether they ever owned a Mustang or
that's
not.
what makes it cool. That's what we're all about here at the Mustang Owners Podcast. And that's why I'm glad Jerry shared this with. He closes by saying, anyway, it was a pleasure to meet you guys, and I'm sure you and Mike will keep up the good work. Mike, what a great letter. Folks, we did not send Jerry Poston any money. Okay. We didn't hand him anything at the live session in Carlisle. So please don't think that we're fluffing this stuff. That's his letter. If you see Jerry, tell him, did you really write that? He'll tell you yes. Okay. So Mike, we have to dig way back into this next one because it was a plea for help. And, folks, we are not, we're not that source here in the podcast. We just want to entertain you, inform you, but do we know some people? Mike does. I'm just here for the beer. And Mike, you got a letter from a guy, and we tried I think you got it last fall. We tried for months and months. We went through everybody we knew. I went through people at Ford. We couldn't find an answer for him. And I felt really bad because if they take the time to send Mike Ray a note, I think we needed an answer. Well, guess what, Mike? We recently got an answer back from a friend of both you and I who's been on the podcast. So I'm going to read this note. Yeah. And I'll read it to you, the one to you, Mike, and we'll tell you how we answered it. And folks, this isn't going to happen all the time, but every once in a while, we hit a home run. It says, good afternoon, Mike. My name is Dustin Davis. Do you remember this, Mike?
Yep.
He said, I was told you might just be the guy that can help me deliver my Mustang-themed concept design to the right hands within Ford. I bumped into John Strauss, the Mustang enthusiast and Mustang racing guy, down here.
Yep. We met him
down
at the
in
museum.
Stuart, Florida, he said. So he forwarded your contact to me, believing that you, Mike, didn't say me, it was you, to be of assistance. He suggested emailing your personal email as opposed to your Ford email. Well, thank God, because you're off Team Mustang now. You wouldn't have got it.
Yes.
So he apparently drew a Mustang or has got it, and he didn't send you pictures of it, Mike, did he?
No.
So he wants somebody at Ford to see this, and he thought you would, you just call up Jim Farley, and get the head of design to take a look at it. He said, for full disclosure, I worked at Ford as a creative clay sculptor from 2016 to 2017. So he probably knew Parasak and all the guys in the...
Rod Gilardi, yep. Kamal,
but then he
probably.
said, okay, I'm going to put this in the podcast. You wrote it, folks. He also worked at GM from 2018 to 2021. Oh, that's when we say, okay, why are we looking for this guy? He said, my degree is a BFA in transportation design from College for Creative Studies in Detroit. So a fine arts degree is great. So far, I've been able to reach Gordon Plateau and Steve Gilmore with the concept. Okay. Despite its promise, I was informed that their hands are tied since I'm not a current employee of Ford. Apparently, Ford has a policy to not work with outside entities for internal Ford design. I have a strong feeling this concept would be a hit for Ford and would be welcomed or even coveted in the Mustang community. And again, Mike, he didn't show it to you.
Right, no.
That being said, it would have to be reviewed by the top brass to override that policy for special situations. He believes his design is a special situation. Everyone I've shared the concept with thinks it'd be a no-brainer for Ford to make it, except Mike, he didn't share it with us.
Right.
So, as a longtime Mustang enthusiast myself, this is the concept I want in my garage above all others. Now I could work with aftermarket companies to make this concept, but I've always believed it needed to be produced by Ford. So for marketing and launch timing, 2027, he wants this out by. So I don't know what 2027 would have to do with this design. we could figure it out.
I don't know, but 2027s are already in the works.
2027 would be the appropriate year, so getting the ball rolling in time is time sensitive. 2027 is the 50th anniversary of the recognition of its namesake. I would love to share the concept with you through the appropriate channels. If it's better to attach the design board to your email, let me know. And he gives the number. You can reach me. I look for you. So all the best, Justin Davis. So, Mike, we talked around. I know you talked to a few people. I talked to some people. Everybody we knew at Ford Performance, a bunch of guys I knew, and they all said the same thing. Why do you guys answer your podcast email? So, Dustin.
But if you go back 50 years, it's 2027. That's 1977.
That's
so
why
you kind of know where that's heading. You can kind of do process of elimination.
All right, that's why I didn't let it go. Mike, when you finally said it's a policy, it's not been broken. They don't.
Right.
So, Mike, you could have a really good hand and you could draw a great car and give it to Joe Bellino and say, here, this could be your next month. And he won't charge him. This still won't take your design, Mike. Okay.
No.
So I was so frustrated because I'm thinking 77? I have a 77. How
Yeah.
can, so months after month through Christmas to finally I get an idea. Why don't I send this letter to somebody you know, Mike, a guy named Daryl Beamer?
Yeah.
And I just thought maybe, he's real candid with us. He's a good friend. I think he's such an honest guy. He'll just tell you like it is. And he would be the only guy I could really go to in design and say, how does this work? So I wrote this note. Hi, Daryl. I hope you and yours are well. Mike Ray and I got the email below last fall and have struck out for months. We tried to find ideas on how to proceed for this guy, Dustin Davis. We are wondering if you could give us your opinion or advice. Hope to see you again. So after the holidays, Daryl, I guess, like he is known to do, he looked into it. Isn't that cool?
Yeah, of course he did. Yeah. I can see him and Gaff both
These
doing
guys
that.
are great. So finally, Dustin, I got a note back from Daryl, and here it is. Hi, John. We would from time to time get design or product proposals from individuals outside of the company. See? So he has experience in this, Mike.
Yeah.
And while some of them were quite interesting, they were never considered, which is corporate policy, which is what you found out, Mike. So Daryl basically said that's the policy. I'm not even convinced that going higher up the ladder would get Dustin consideration unless he had a contract to contribute design proposals, which is, he said, the only way for any non-Ford employee has gotten concepts in front of senior management, if you have a contract to do so. That's the way it is. He said, I have not seen what he is proposing. Well, don't feel bad, Mike. I haven't seen it. You haven't seen it. But unfortunately, trying to get an audience with anyone within the company, even in design, will probably not happen. If he wants to get some attention to his ideas, my advice would be, and here's where Daryl Beamer is a genius. Okay. Here's his advice, Mike. He said, get your design onto Car Scoops or Jalopnik or Car Design News or one of the .coms, somewhere where he can show off what he's done. That would really give it the attention it needs. And he said, sorry, it can't be better news. Hope all is well, Daryl. And I think, folks, if you're out there and you have design ideas like that, I think this is exactly the right tack to take. You've seen stuff on YouTube. Some guys got this wild, I saw one, the 2026 Ford Pinto, and it looked like a GT. We see this stuff on YouTube all the time. But sometimes this stuff gets 1 million views. And if you think Ford doesn't read, the comments, you're wrong. I mean, maybe this is the way to go. Maybe this is all you need. So I hope that helps. That's what you get for sending a crazy note like that in the mailbag to the Mustang Owners Podcast. Oh my gosh. So with that, we're going to wrap it up. I guess I just want to go. We're going to do one more after this, but until, Mike and I have to talk about it because I just think there's a new controversy brewing around. And in the mailbag, I've got several of these. I'm going to give you a tip on what it is. And we're going to do a whole episode on it, what it is. Here's the tip. Yep. So we'll just close by saying that Recently, there's a story out, it appeared in Automotive News and then also on Ford Authority, that John Lawler, who's our finance guy at Ford Motor Company, was talking about powertrains, ICE powertrains, over time are going to need to be consolidated and perhaps not even be differentiated among not just Ford, but car companies as well. He said, I don't think consumers really think about powertrains they did 30 years ago when powertrains defined a company. And, when it was all about horsepower and the name of the motor and all that. He thinks a lot of that's gone. And maybe they could outsource the next 4 or 6 cylinder engines, maybe even an eight. This is so controversial that guess what, folks? Now, Mike and I, on the next mailbag, will go through all your letters and discuss that with you. Is a Ford powertrain, say a Coyote, important to Ford people? And is it still worth building Ford their own engines rather than maybe getting them and swapping them with Toyota or Volkswagen or somebody else? Keep those cards and letters coming to the Mustang mailbag. I hope you enjoyed this little look inside. Make sure you comment and send us your opinion on the Mustang powertrain ideas that we're going to be sharing next time. So until next time, we're just going to have to catch you guys down the road.